I'm John Raeber, and this is a presentation on reading architectural specifications. Examples are from my master's and are based on formats developed by the Construction Specifications Institute. Architectural specifications are the verbal descriptions of materials, components, elements, assemblies, and systems indicated graphically on the architectural drawings. Along with the drawings, they form the architect of record's implements of service, which provide the design intent of the project sufficient to allow the construction team to price and build the project. Both the drawings and specification formats are regulated only based on meeting the standard of care necessary to determine the design intent based on local conditions. The base industry standard format for specifications writing, as developed by the Construction Specifications Institute, include the 50 division format, the 6-digit section format and section titles, and the 3-part section format. Now, the 50 division format was originally 16 divisions, and as time went on, the industry decided to change it, and they did a fairly good job of making it more related to the design groups, the architects, the engineers, the mechanical, electrical, than the original 16 divisions, where everything was pretty much mixed into the first 14 divisions, and then MEP were the divisions 15 and 16. As you can see in the master format groups on the left, we now have the procurement groups, which are division 00, which I like to call division uh-oh, because they're primarily legal, and technically architects shouldn't be writing that. The best they should do is give standards documents to the owner and instruct the owner to have their lawyers look at it. Now, division 01, general requirements, the general requirements subgroup, is in fact just that. This provides basic requirements that are consistent throughout all the documents, but also has a variety of information in it that is more specific to an owner or the project than you would have in the general contracting groups in division 00. The primary construction subgroup is the divisions 02 to 14, which has the existing conditions, concrete, masonry, metals, wood, plastics, and composites, thermal and moisture protection, openings, finishes, specialties, equipment furnishings, special construction, and conveying equipment. Now, as you'll notice, the second, third, fourth, and fifth, the concrete, masonry, metals, wood, plastics, and composites, are actually both the architectural discipline and the structural discipline. So you'll find your structural concrete requirements in division 03, but you also find architectural concrete requirements in division 3. So they do share, two disciplines share that one. Existing conditions are primarily about what's on the site, requirements for such thing as demolition. Now, the divisions 7 through 14 are specifically architectural elements. The thermal and moisture protection, which would include your waterproofing and roofing and your insulation for the exterior of the building. Your openings, which are your doors and windows, louvers, skylights, and such. Division 9 finishes are self-explanatory. Specialties is one of those all-inclusive things. You can throw anything in there that doesn't seem to fit in any of the others. And then equipment and furnishings, once again, self-instructive or self-defined. Special construction may as well just be specialties, but they already have been using it, so they kept it along. And then conveying equipment is obviously for your elevators, escalators, and equipment that's necessary to move people and in some cases things throughout the facility. Now, if you'll notice, 15 through 19, it's reserved for future. You then get into the facility services subgroup, which is the division 21 fire suppression, division 22 plumbing, division 23 heating, ventilating, air conditioning. The division 24 is reserved. Division 25 is integrated automation, which I've very seldom seen used. Then division 26, which is electrical, and communications and electronic safety and security, are technically specialty items off of the electrical. You'll notice it used to be division 15 and 16, and 15 contained what is now 21, 22, and 23, which once again divided it more into the present disciplines we have, as specialty disciplines are there for fire protection systems, plumbing, and HVAC. And now the electrical, which was division 16, is primarily integrated automation for whatever that might be, general electrical, communications elements, and electronic safety and security. Divisions 31 and 32 are, in fact, earthwork and exterior improvements. Earthwork is another discipline. Exterior improvements are typically landscape, although architects do get involved with some of them. Utilities, once again, civil engineer typically. Transportation, this is a specialty group. They were hoping to bring more people into the CSI because of it. And then waterway and marine construction, once again, a specialty item. And then the entire process equipment subgroup, division 40 through 48, relates to things that would be heavy industry and not typically something you would see a standard architect get involved with. Now, the 6-digit numbers are not here yet. Let's get to the next one. Here's where you begin to see the actual specifications. You'll notice on the right, you'll see the table of contents, and you'll see the document 000110 table of contents. That's the 6-digit number. That's part of the master format. You'll see in the left-hand column a reference to section 081400 wood doors, and you'll notice the 2, 2, and 2 combination for the numbers. Now, CSI is remiss because they don't provide a specific format for the number. They say 6 numbers, but as far as CSI is concerned, you can use all 6 numbers together, 081400, or you can do a 2 and 4 combination, 08 and then 1400, where you separate the division from the actual section element, wood doors in this case. And then you also have the 081400 2, 2, and 2 format, and which gets complicated because you may have mechanical engineers using the 6 digits, structural engineers might be using the 2 and 4, and the architect might be using the 2, 2, and 2, which can confuse the computer a lot. So the first thing people have to do is try and organize the numbering system. But that's all included in master format, of which you can find on the internet, and you can see some of what we're doing here. Now, this is where reading the specifications starts. You should always start with the table of contents. It gives you an idea of what's included in this particular project, and based on that, in some cases you can find very specific elements, such as if you're looking for wood doors, as we said on the left, you look under the second column, division 08 openings, section 081400 is wood doors, and 087100 is door hardware. Now the question then comes up, what are the frames for the wood doors? Would the wood doors in a wood frame have the wood frames in this section, or would they be somewhere else? And that's where CSI starts getting to be a little bit more confusing, and you have to start learning how to read the document looking for keywords. In this case, wood doors is a keyword, and it's obviously something you found very easily in the table of contents. But the frames are not so obviously in the table of contents. Usually, if you want to consider the divisions of the divisions in the package, you'll notice that once again, in this particular case, none of the structural sections, concrete, masonry, metal, or wood and plastics, have any real structural sections to it. So you can tell right from this table of content that this project does not include structure for a building. This is purely an interior project. The existing conditions are selected demolition, which would also be interior, and you'll notice there's no division 31 or 32. So just by looking at the table of contents, you can get an idea of what kind of project this is, which you should technically already know anyway. Moving on to the next slide, using the specifications. Once you get past the table of contents, then you need to start figuring out how you find other information. And we were talking about the wood door frames. Where are they at? Well, in this particular case, if you look at the column on the right side, if nothing pops out on the table of contents, Metal fabrications includes railings, ladders, bollards, elevator shaft screens. That doesn't seem to include anything with door or door frames. Decorative metal 057000 covers typically custom-made items such as stainless steel, brass, bronze, custom aluminum, custom steel, and special metal finishes like blackened steel. But once again, door frames aren't typically custom. Now you look at the next section, 061000, that's finished carpentry, and you notice the first thing it says is wood base and then wood door jambs. So wood door jambs are the framing for a wood door. So in that particular interior section, since we don't see any other framing sections that you might be looking for, you can tell that all the frames in this particular project are wood door frames. You'll notice I also include wood shelving, but I also include plastic coated wire shelving, closet poles, both wood and metal, and janitor closet mop holders. Now, other spec writers might want to put the plastic coated wire shelving in their own section or under a metal section, miscellaneous metals or decorative metals. Closet poles, once again, you could just have wood closet poles under finished carpentry and put metal closet poles under metal fabrications. And janitor's closet mop holders, you might want to look for, if they're not here, under toilet accessories. Unless it's in the toilet room, it's not really a toilet accessory, but then again, what is it? And you wouldn't want to write a whole section on something that's going to cost about 20 bucks. So putting the janitor's closet mop holders under finished carpentry makes sense because it's actually installed by the carpenter in most projects. Step number 2, if nothing pops out of the table of contents again, other things can be combined in sections that you may not know until you read what's under the section, what's actually in there. Notice in this particular section, we're looking at the wood doors again. It's got summary. Section includes wood doors indicated, and then under it says flush face wood doors, panel type, style, and rail wood doors, interior pressed wood masonite doors, interior bifold louver wood closet doors with hardware, and then as a contractor option, it says provide shop finished wood doors. So this tells you what's all covered under this particular section. Now there could also be separate sections for flush face wood doors, style and rail doors, and masonite doors. But there's no reason why you can't combine all the requirements in one section if it seems to make sense and doesn't create a over voluminous section. Also note under here, under related work, are sometimes called related sections, you'll see that it says section 062000 has wood door frames, which is what we just noticed from the other one. So if you'd gone straight from the wood door section on the table of content to section 081400 and looked under here, you would have found right away that wood door frames are in fact in section 062000. Now, it also says pressed steel frames, when they're used, are under 081110, interior aluminum frames are 081120. Integrated door opening assemblies, which has both doors and frames in it, is 081700. And then the hardware and the glass and glazing for doors are also in other areas. Now, that tells you that we're not assuming these wood doors are going to come out to the job site with glazing in them. We're assuming they're going to come out to the job site, whether pre-finished or shop or field finished, but they are going to be glazed in the field. So this is a continuing way to learn how to read the specifications by looking for keywords and knowing where you find the primary areas that tell you where things are at. You'll notice for the other two items on the left of the table, it's got 072100 thermal insulation, and that's got bad insulation, insulation board, spray-on, XPS and EPS, that's extruded polystyrene and expanded polystyrene insulations, polyisocyanates, polyurethanes, and continuous insulations, which are of various types, could be BAT or polystyrene or polyisocyanurate. Now, under the resilient tile flooring sections, you'll notice there's a variety of different types of resilient tile. Vinyl composition tile, VCT, luxury vinyl tile, the plank looking like wood tile usually. The rubber tiles, solid vinyl tiles, and even terrazzo tile can be under this particular section. Once again, each of these sections could have their own, each of these items could have their own section. You can separate the luxury vinyl tiles from the terrazzo tile. But there's no reason, if you've got a variety of different finishes in there, not to put them in all in one particular section. Now, reading the three-part section is also important. The three parts are basically part one general, part two products, and part two execution. We'll start with part one general. It includes basic administrative requirements, things that are anticipated usually to be done before the project is being done in the field. So a summary, as we've already noticed, what the section includes and what are related sections. References, which some of the sections you'll see will have 2 pages of references, which is a waste of time. That was necessary back in the days before the internet, where we might reference an ASTM E84 in the spec and nobody knows what it is. In the old days, they said, well, let's put in a references section so that you can say what ASTM E84 is in the beginning of the section and where they might be able to find it, or ASTM in that particular case. Nowadays, since all you have to do is type ASTM E84 onto your Google search or whatever search mechanism you use, it'll pop up, and not only will you see what the section name is, but it'll tell you where you can find a copy of it. Sometimes where you can buy one, or sometimes where you can order one, and sometimes you'll find out it's no longer available. That doesn't mean it's not still relevant to the section and necessary for the project. Administrative requirements like delegated design, also sometimes referred to as design build, pre-installation meetings, coordination requirements between specific sections, such as you might want to have under administrative requirements for the wood door people and the glazing people to coordinate to make sure they get the glass for the wood doors installed in the site, but coordinated so they know what the sizes are. And then basic submittals such as product data, shop drawings, samples, and testing requirements and testing reports. Quality assurance, which can be experience and work requiring all the products to be by a single manufacturer, and then warranties and extension of the correction work period. These are all basic requirements relevant to the administration of it, but not so important once you get out onto the job site. Part two, products, is in fact the manufacturer element. This is telling the manufacturer how to build their particular products for the project, and the project products might in fact be a component or an element like paint, or it can be a complete assembly like a curtain wall system. So system or part two products usually starts with a systems manufacturers, although that may not always be the first one, where you have multiple manufacturers and multiple systems used. You can see in this on the right, 2.1 is system manufacturers, and we've listed 4 manufacturers and stated manufacturers listed on finished schedules, because finished schedules have a tendency to change. And sometime when you're writing the specs, you don't know, they change the names of the selections, they change the finishes, and they don't always tell you what other manufacturers they put in there, so it doesn't hurt to put this statement in there. But that's because we know all of these particular fabric wrap panels are manufactured by one of these 4 companies. So that right away tells the bidders who they should go to find out what the prices of the materials are. Under part 2.2, under products article 2.2 materials, you'll see it says system description, provide fabric wrap panels including attachment devices and accessories. It then gives regulatory requirements, tells you the manufacturers what the panels are. It's standard fabric wrap manufacturer panels. Gives a core requirement of 7 pounds per cubic foot core fiberglass with fabric wrapped over the edges to provide a trimless edge situation. Fabric is indicated. Once again, this is something that is often selected very late in the project, and they might have to go to the finish schedule to find that. And then finally, panel fasteners. We want concealed metallic fastener systems, which could in fact be a magnetic system, or it could be a Z-type clip hanging system. Then there are specific fabrication requirements that you might want to say. Not all these panel manufacturers might use as their standard construction, bonding the fabric to the panel. This says even if we've specified one of your products, we want that product to be bonded to the panel, not just hanging over to where later on it might start sagging. And we want the corners tailored to maintain fabric flat and even, not bunches of fabric cut up at the edges. So these are valid fabrication requirements that all these manufacturers should meet, but it's important that you tell them things that you're going to be looking for. Construction tolerances are another thing that you might want to put there. Now, part 3 is actually execution. Not my favorite term, execution, because in situations where they're translating these specifications to different languages, the term execution might take on a whole different meaning. I had a friend once that had a project in the Northern Europe, and when they translated the steel plates that are used in structures into that particular language, the translator translated plates to be a dinner plate. So terms aren't always exactly what you expect they could be when they start translating them. Around here, execution could also be installation or application, but all three terms are relatively similar. This, by the way, could be mostly taken out in most cases because all you really want to say in sections where you're doing using the manufacturer's product is telling them, we want you to follow the manufacturer's recommendations and installation instructions, which you'll find in 3.2 installation there. Install manufacturer's metal standing seam roofing in accordance with manufacturer's recommendations, installation instruction, in this case, and approved shop drawings. You might also want to tell them that we want field measurements taken so they're not cutting things into small pieces on the field, which in some cases it's acceptable. In this particular situation, you want them to have the field measurements as it's relevant, especially for the valleys and the eaves and the other specialty elements. Preparation, we want to know moisture content for flooring systems, and then basic installation application requirements. Other than saying that we want to follow the manufacturer's recommendations, here's where you can give them installation tolerances, how flat it has to be, or how far it can vary off of a straight edge over a 10-foot area. And then finally, cleaning requirements and protection. So that's the three-part format. The last thing I want to talk about right now is schedules. Schedules are commonly found in the drawings, but they can also be in the specifications, and they can be in any variety of places in the specifications. Finish schedules are most commonly found in the drawings, although I have seen some architects use section 09, 0000 or 01 as a section which has the finish schedules actually included in the specification books. Most of the projects I see have them on the drawings. But you can also have, as you'll notice in the part 2 on the resilient tile flooring, that here's where I was talking about multiple products in one section. You got VCT and a list of manufacturers for VCT and the basic requirements for it. LVT, luxury vinyl plank type tile, and their manufacturers and colors and pattern requirements. And then solid resilient vinyl tile, SVT, which are also listed with manufacturers and colors. So this is a place where you actually have a finish schedule, flooring systems that are tile or resilient tile, in the section itself. Now you can also put the same schedule at the end of the section, and if you've got 20 or 30, as you might with a hardware group or hardware sets, that would probably be better off at the end of the section. Usually in that case, you put it at the end of part 3 execution, just before the end of section. But if you've got an extremely long schedule that you might find with food service equipment or furniture, where in some cases it might be 100 pages, and you want them bound in this book, you can actually put them within the section, so they'll look under the section for food service equipment or furniture, and after the end of the section you'll have this 100 pages attached to it. You may also go ahead and make these schedules as appendices to the overall book, so at the table of contents, when you get to the end of the table of contents, it'll have an appendices and it'll list any schedules that might fall at the end, or information that might fall at the end of the section after the other table of contents sections that don't seem to fit anywhere else. So this is your basic method. The next thing you have to worry about once you're reading all this, all the things about finding materials should be in parts 1, 2, and 3 of the technical sections. But when you start getting into specific requirements, especially those that are general throughout the project, now you go back to Division 1. So Technical 01, Division 01, general requirements, might just as well be at the end of the documents as it is in the first, because technically in most of these situations you're going to want to read the section before you actually go back and say, well, do they have something relative? Example, the experience of the installers. There might be in Division 01 under 01 let's see, probably 013000 administrative procedures, it would have under that a part that says experience, and it would say the installer has to have at least 5 years of experience installing that particular product in that particular condition. So you can say that once in Division 01 and not repeat it in all the sections. My own bit, and I do thoroughly agree with the idea of don't say something twice, is to say that every rule is made to be broken. And this is one of those situations where I might want to be very specific in sections like the joint sealants, that I want all the installers of the joint sealants to have 5 years of experience. I don't want to rely on the contractor and the subcontractor going back to Division 1 to see that the 5-year experience is required, because they might say, oh, I can use this product here instead of what you specified, while where the reason they want to use it is they can use it and have anybody put it in. They don't have experience. And my own experience is, especially on the exterior of the building, if I'm going to have a joint sealant, I want to put in by people that know what they're doing. So 013000 administrative procedures relates directly to Part 1 general requirements. 016000 and the subsections under that relate to the product requirements, and 017000 execution requirements relate directly to the sections under that. So that's going back to Division 1. I hope this has been a beneficial process for you. This final page tells you a little bit about who I am, my degrees, my experience. I've been writing specifications now for 50 years. I started out with HOK and Ginsler. I've been independent since 1982, and I've written a number of books which are listed there. And I might also mention to you that I have a YouTube station, John Bear Raeber, for storytelling. I hope you enjoyed this, and I wish you all the luck in the world.